10,000 Mongols against 100,000 Russians, and the river itself becomes the weapon. This should be annihilation. This should be the end. By the end, you'll understand how this happens, why the numbers swell in rumor, and why winter turns a battlefield into a slaughterhouse that nobody can escape. This isn't a story about a frozen river alone. It's a story about leadership collapsing in slow motion and one Mongol commander who treats ice like a road. So here is the spine question that refuses to loosen its grip. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri II ride back toward death? And how does Burundai make the cold do half the killing? Yuri II grows up inside a system that forges princes the same way it forges swords, with pressure and expectation and very little mercy. The court of Vladimir Suzdal teaches him that power is inheritance, but survival is performance. He learns to ride early, because a prince who cannot ride becomes a rumor. He learns to pray. With the same seriousness, he learns to fight, because faith holds a fractured land together when politics cannot. He learns that boyars smile while they weigh whether they would rather serve you or replace you. 3 sensations follow Yuri like warnings. His breath burns in his lungs every time the air turns sharp, like winter tries to scrape him from the inside. His fingers go numb when cold bites through gloves, and he has to flex them until pain returns just to trust his grip again. And an old ache lives in his knee from years in the saddle, a deep stiffness that flares when he kneels to pray, then flares again when he stands to command. He grows into a man who believes responsibility is not a choice. When he wears his title, he wears it like a chain. The land around him is forests, rivers, mud in spring, ice in winter, and scattered towns that rely on distance for safety. But distance means nothing once an enemy learns to move through it faster than anyone expects. Yuri hears rumors first, like everyone does. Riders speaking of cities burned far to the south and east. Traders arriving with frightened eyes. Priests lowering their voices when they talk about the steppe. Miles away, that steppe spits out an army that does not treat winter as an obstacle. Batu's invasion rolls into the Rus lands in 1237 and 1238 like a door kicked open in the dark. The Mongols do not arrive as a single mass. They arrive as a machine of columns, scouting, probing, surrounding, striking where resistance forms and bypassing where it doesn't matter. And inside that machine, Burundai rides as one of the teeth, a commander trusted to move fast, to cut routes, to finish what others start. Burundai does not need to be a monster to be terrifying. He only needs clarity. He understands time. He understands panic. He understands that the hardest thing to kill is hope, so he kills hope first. The spine question tightens even before the war reaches Yuri's gates. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri II ride back toward his death? And how does Burundai make the cold do half the killing? The system that should protect Yuri's people fractures under pressure. Rus principalities argue, stall, bargain, and hesitate the way humans always do when disaster arrives too fast for diplomacy. Some princes feud with neighbors while the horizon darkens. Some hope the storm passes them by. Some believe tribute buys time. How many times does history punish that hope before people stop believing it? Yuri hears that Ryazan falls, then Kolomna. Then the fires creep closer. The messages arrive like hammer blows, each one shrinking the world. He calls a war council in Vladimir Suzdal, and it is not the grand, confident council of legends. It is anxious men packed around maps that suddenly feel useless. An advisor says, "We cannot meet them in open ground. Their riders move like wind." Another counters, "If we hide behind walls, we become ash." A third, voice low, says, "Then we do what our fathers always do. We call the levies. We gather the druzhina. We pray the rivers slow them." Yuri listens, breath burning in his chest even indoors, as if his body already senses winter war. His knee aches. His fingers numb slightly despite the warmth, because fear can numb you too. He speaks carefully, because a prince does not get to sound uncertain. "We hold where we can," Yuri says. "We do not waste men chasing shadows, and we keep the people moving north if the walls fail." A boyar dares to ask what everyone fears. "And if the walls fail, Grand Prince?" Yuri holds the man's gaze. "Then we meet them again," Yuri says. "Somewhere." Miles away, Burundai rides through a different council, a council of horsemen and scouts and hard decisions made quickly. He listens to reports, not prayers. "The forest's slow, heavy wagons," a scout says, "but frozen rivers are straight roads." Burundai answers, "Then we ride the rivers." Is that the secret of their terror, that they treat nature like a tool? Then the ultimatum arrives, because the Mongols always test submission before they spend blood. Envoys appear with the same message that has broken other cities. Open the gates, pay tribute, give hostages. Accept the Khan's authority and live as a useful piece of the new order. The offer is survival with a collar. A common townsman whispers, "If we bow, do we live?" A guard on the palisade replies, "You live as someone else's shadow." Yuri hears the demand, and he feels his knee stiffen as he rises, a quiet reminder that his body is not made of legend. His fingers go numb even as he clenches them. He is not naive about Mongol mercy. He knows they spare artisans and useful men at times. He also knows they slaughter resistors at times. He knows the rules shift depending on what frightens the next city into surrender. Yuri speaks, and his voice stays steady because a shaking voice can kill morale faster than arrows. "Tell them Vladimir does not open its gates to threats," Yuri says. "If they want our walls, they climb for them." This decision locks in the path. Set up, an ultimatum that offers life. Pressure, fear in every street. Decision, Yuri refuses to kneel. Consequence, the siege and the storm arrive, and retreat becomes the only remaining strategy once the walls break. The Mongols strike Vladimir in winter. Fire blooms against snow. Walls that feel permanent become fragile under engines and discipline. The city burns, and Yuri's world narrows into smoke and loss. Chronicles later remember the royal family dying in the chaos. Whether every detail lands exactly as remembered, the outcome stays brutal. The capital falls, and Yuri becomes a prince without a city. Yuri rides north across the Volga to Yaroslavl, breath burning in the cold like he inhales knives. His fingers go numb on the reins, and he keeps flexing them until pain returns. His knee aches with every jolt. He carries shame like armor, because shame can become fuel if it doesn't crush you first. Now the spine question returns because it turns personal. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri II ride back toward death? In Yaroslavl, Yuri gathers what remains. Survivors trickle in. Boyars arrive with excuses and fears. Men with axes and spears answer the levy because their homes already burn. The war council forms again, smaller, colder, and more honest because illusion died with Vladimir. An advisor says, "We cannot rebuild the capital in days, sire. We must fall back to the forests and wait for spring." A commander says, "If we wait, they take Torzhok. They take the road to Novgorod. They take everything." Yuri's jaw tightens. His knee throbs when he kneels to pray, then throbs again when he stands. "We march," Yuri says. "If we do nothing, we die slowly. If we march, we at least choose how we die." A common soldier outside hears the rumor and mutters, "We march into the wolf's mouth." Another replies, "Better the mouth than the cage." Yuri orders the mustering. It is not 100,000. It is not even close. Medieval numbers swell because fear inflates them, and later storytellers love impossible ratios. But the feeling of being outnumbered, outmatched, and outpaced is real enough to make any number feel infinite. Yuri marches back toward his ruined capital in the dead of winter, and winter becomes an active enemy. Snow muffles sound until you cannot tell how close danger is. Forests narrow sightlines. Rivers freeze and become highways, not obstacles. The cold steals sensation from hands and feet and steals sense from exhausted men. Yuri's breath burns, his fingers numb. His knee stiffens so hard he worries it will lock at the worst moment. Miles away, Burundai moves with the calm of a man who knows the land now belongs to him. He sends detachments to capture key towns, to prevent regrouping, to force battles on his own terms. He does not need to find Yuri immediately. He only needs to deny Yuri safe choices. Burundai tells his officers, "A prince without a city tries to become a symbol. We cut the symbol down before others gather around it." An officer asks, "Do we chase him through the forests?" Burundai answers, "We do not chase," he says. "We surround. We arrive before he believes we can." How does that feel from the other side, to realize the enemy always seems to be waiting? Yuri sends scouts under a commander named Doroj, because a prince who cannot see gets swallowed. The scouts ride into the white silence, and Yuri waits with his breath burning, his hands numb, his knee aching, staring at a horizon that refuses to speak. This becomes the first clash in the rhythm of disaster. Doroj's force meets Mongol riders, and the meeting is not glorious. It is sudden. Arrows flicker out of trees, hooves drum on frozen ground. The Mongols slide away, then reappear, always at an angle that turns pursuit into exposure. Doroj fights and returns, but he returns with the kind of news that feels like a sentence. "Sire," Doroj says, voice strained, "they are not ahead, they are around us." Yuri feels the cold deepen in his bones. "Around us," Yuri repeats. Doroj nods. "We ride into them from every side," he says. "They already measure our steps." Set up. Yuri tries to find the Mongol position. Pressure. The scouts reveal encirclement. Decision. Yuri chooses to form for battle anyway, rather than scatter. Consequence? Burundai's trap tightens, and the Sit River becomes the stage. The spine question returns, sharper. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri ride back toward death? And how does Burundai make the cold do half the killing? Yuri chooses to stand, and this decision contains pride and duty in equal measure. If he runs, he becomes a prince forever chased, forever shrinking. If he stands and dies, he becomes a story, and in a world where stories hold people together, sometimes leaders die to give their people something to hold. Yuri calls his commanders close. "We form here," Yuri says. His fingers are numb, and he hates that he cannot fully feel the sword hilt. He flexes them again until pain flashes, proving sensation still exists. "We keep the banners visible. We do not let them split us." A commander says, "Sire, the men are tired. Many are peasants with axes, not riders." Yuri answers, "Then we anchor them with our druzhina," he says, "and we keep them from chasing." A common infantryman, hearing Mongol arrows in the distance, whispers, "Do they ever stop circling?" Another answers, "Only when they bite." Miles away, Burundai prepares the bite. He uses frozen rivers the way steppe armies use open plains. He sends riders wide to cut off retreat. He probes for weak points. He waits for the moment when Yuri's line strains and a gap appears. Burundai speaks to his inner circle, and his voice stays level. "They want to form a wall," Burundai says. "Walls crack when you hit them from three sides." An officer asks, "And the prince?" Burundai's eyes stay on the white landscape. "The prince dies," Burundai says. "If he lives, he gathers men again." What does it do to a leader to hear the enemy thinks of him as a problem to be erased, not a man? Yuri's army reaches the Sit River region, and the river lies frozen, a bright strip of ice under winter light. It looks solid, It looks safe. It looks like a line you can use to anchor a flank. Yuri's breath burns in his chest as he exhales into the air, watching it fog. His knee aches as he dismounts and steps onto ice that creaks softly, a sound that feels too delicate for war. His fingers numb again and he rubs them hard, then looks up at the tree line. He senses them before he sees them, because fear is a kind of sight. Horses, movement, shadows sliding where shadows should not slide. Then arrows, hiss, and the battle begins. The first wave hits like a storm. Mongol horse archers ride in, loose and peel away. Yuri's men shout, try to chase, and commanders scream at them to hold. Spears jab at empty air. Axes swing at distance. The Mongols do not commit to close combat yet. They commit to pressure, to confusion, to forcing mistakes. Yuri rides along the line, making himself visible, because visibility is sometimes the only antidote to panic. His breath burns, his fingers are numb. His knee flares with pain when he shifts in the saddle. He grits his teeth and points with his sword. "Hold!" Yuri shouts. "Do not run after them!" A soldier cries, "They are everywhere!" Yuri answers, "Then we stand everywhere," he says, and his own words surprise him with their stubbornness. Set up. Mongols harass and bait. Pressure. The Rus line strains and wants to chase. Decision. Yuri forces discipline that his mixed levy struggles to sustain. Consequence. Burundai sees where the line thins, and he commits the encirclement. This is the trap, the strategic brilliance that turns a battle into a slaughter. Burundai's riders stop being only arrows. They become walls of movement. They strike at the flanks. They appear behind. They make the frozen river a mirror that reflects terror, because men slip, horses slide, and turning becomes slow. Burundai gives the order that ends hesitation. "Now," Burundai says. "Close." Mongol units surge in tighter. The Rus line compresses. Men stumble on ice slicked with churned snow. Shields bump, banners sway. Yuri's breath burns as he shouts commands that vanish into noise. His fingers numb so deeply that he has to look at his hand to trust it still grips. His knee aches as he tries to pivot his horse. The battle becomes short where danger peaks. Voices become chopped, orders become shouted fragments. A commander near Yuri yells, "Sire, they cut the rear!" Another screams, "They are on the river!" Yuri snaps, "Hold the center, do not break!" And he hears how desperate that sounds. A common soldier slips and cries, "The ice betrays us!" Another answers, voice cracked, "The ice is honest. It never promised anything." Miles away, Burundai watches the knot form and tightens it. He does not need to kill every man with his own blade. He needs the enemy to collapse into itself. He knows a trapped force starts killing itself with panic. Burundai says, "Do not let them open space." And his officers obey like parts of a single body. Now the spine question screams again in the white air. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri ride back toward death? And how does Burundai make the cold do half the killing? Because Yuri cannot flee anymore. Retreat becomes impossible once encirclement locks. The forest edges spit arrows. The river offers no speed, only slippery footing. Yuri's men look for an exit and find none. In that moment, morality corners him too. If he abandons the line dissolves. If he stays, he dies. He stays. This is the final stand, the breaking point where survival becomes a kind of betrayal. Yuri's druzhina clusters around him. They fight to keep him mounted, to keep him moving, to keep the banner upright. Yuri feels his breath burn, feels his fingers numb, feels his knees scream with pain when he stands in the stirrups to swing. Yuri speaks, and his voice is close to those who can still hear him. "Do not leave each other," Yuri says. "If we die together." A guard answers, "We die with you, Grand Prince." A Mongol rider closes in, and the world narrows into impact and snow and shouting. Yuri does not get a clean, heroic end. Chronicles later paint him as slain on the field, and some later images show his body found headless. What matters in the moment is simpler. The line breaks, and once the line breaks, the killing becomes effortless for the side that controls movement. The river ice, churned and scraped, becomes slick under hooves. Men fall, horses topple. Shouts turn into pleading and then vanish. The cold does not care who is brave. The cold does not care who is noble. It simply preserves the scene. After the fighting, silence arrives like a blanket thrown over a fire. Snow keeps falling. The wind moves. The Sit River keeps being a river under ice. And the survivors, few and scattered, carry the story north like a wound. A priest walks among bodies later, and the chronicles remember a bishop finding Yuri's corpse and recognizing him by what remains of his clothing and rings. The image becomes legend because it is unbearable. A prince, reduced to a body in snow. Miles away, Burundi does not linger in grief. He moves. Mongol warfare does not pause for funerals. Detachments take more towns. Torzhok falls. The road toward Novgorod opens, and for a moment it looks like nothing stops them. Then the season shifts. Thaw turns roads to mud, and the Mongols pull back from Novgorod's doorstep, not out of mercy, but out of logistics, because even an empire that rides winter cannot ignore spring forever. So what does this slaughter buy? It buys the Mongols control and tribute and decades of dominance that later generations call the yoke, a weight that shapes politics, taxes, and power across the Rus lands. Now the spine question returns one last time, quieter and more poisonous. When the world tells you to flee, why does Yuri II ride back toward death, and what does that choice truly change? In the immediate aftermath, Yuri's choice does not stop the invasion. It does not save Vladimir. It does not keep the Mongols from imposing their order. But it does something else that history rarely admits out loud. It draws a line of memory. It shows what resistance looks like in a moment when resistance seems impossible. And that memory becomes a seed, because the Rus lands do not stay frozen forever. They fracture, adapt, pay, bargain, and slowly change. And later, powers rise within that pressure. Now return to the opening paradox. 10,000 against 100,000, and the frozen river becomes a slaughter. The exact numbers do not matter as much as the sensation the chronicles leave behind. A smaller, faster force dismantles a larger, desperate one by choosing the ground and timing, and winter turns every mistake into death. This should be annihilation. This should be the end. By now, you understand how it happens. Burundi makes the cold an ally, and Yuri rides back because a leader sometimes chooses a death that keeps his people from dying only as cowards in their own stories. And here is the twist that makes victory taste strange for everyone involved. The Mongols win so completely that they do not just conquer land, they reshape how power works. Yet the very pressures they apply help forge future rivals, because survival under tribute teaches administration, teaches consolidation, teaches which princes learn to outplay others. If you want more cinematic history stories like this, like the video, subscribe and share your thoughts below. If you are Yuri, do you scatter into the forests and live to fight later, or do you stand on the ice so the world remembers you stood it all? And when you picture the end of the frozen river slaughter, do not picture banners or speeches. Picture the sound that remains after everyone stops shouting, the soft, steady crackle of ice cooling again, and one fallen helmet half buried in snow as a raven taps it once, twice, then flies off into the white.